Okay. So this morning, I had another astral projection experience. I woke up at about 8:15 and I was wide awake. So I decided to lay down and do some meditations. But whilst meditating, I actually ended up sliding out of my body. And I reached for my notepad after explaining my experience. And because I wanted to write it down. I didn't want to explain my experience to my girlfriend and then just forget everything that happened. Because usually I'd wake up after an astral projection and just think that I'm going to be able to remember it later on. But then I fall asleep. And then I wake up after a dream, not being able to remember the experience. And so I wrote down the Indigo experience because I actually met a group of Indigo beings. But it started off with me being like materialized to my family house. A lot of the time people who astral project, their astral bodies are very attuned to other locations within their past, oftentimes childhood homes, favorite places, stuff like that. So every now and then I would materialize in my bedroom or in the middle of my street outside my mom's house. Okay. And so I materialize there and I'm looking around and I'm seeing people standing on the street, but they're not actually doing anything. They're not really moving. And so I go up to them and they start smiling, but it's this weird, creepy smile. So then I try to push them. And as I push into their body, they become kind of warped and disorientated. And then they grow an extra like 3 to 4 feet, kind of like putty or clay being stretched up. And at that point, it's kind of weird. I'm like, okay, this is odd. Like, what are these beings? Are they even beings? And then after finishing that thought, I realized that, wait a second, when I mess up the physical structure of one of these beings, the other ones react. Then I started thinking about simulation theories. Maybe I'm in some kind of astral projection simulation and these beings have been put there, and they're not really fully cognizant because they're programs. And so when I'm asking them these questions and they can't respond back to me, it's because they have no programming, to respond back to me with. And so then I start walking down my road and I go inside of a car because for some reason cars are always unlocked in the astral plane. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, no, this is a cool little car. It's my brother's car, and a little Mini actually. And then I think to myself, wait a second, I can fly. Like, why should I even drive anywhere? Which is a common problem a lot of people have in the astral plane. They'll start walking because they'll forget the fact that they are interdimensional light beings that can actually fly and teleport, or open up a wormhole. And so I start flying, but then I get pulled to the side and I actually get summoned to this other location. And I'm going to assume that it was off-world because of the conversations that I had with the beings in this location. It was inside of what looked like some kind of community housing establishment where there were bunks in one room, and then there would be like a kitchen area, and then like a kind of lounge area. And I'm just like looking around at these people that are there. And I find myself looking at this young girl. She's maybe 14. Only her skin is kind of indicating the fact that she's not quite human. Her skin is like a pale white with a tint of purple. And her eyes are purple. And her hair is white, And she's kind of emanating this very gentle haze of a violet haze. Very violet, gentle violet haze. And so I'm looking at her, she's looking at me weirdly. Then I notice that her sister walks into the room, and her sister also looks the same. And I don't say anything at first. At first, I walk up to the loft area of the community bit, and I notice that there's another one up there. She's a little older, she's like mid-20s. Well, she looks mid-20s, And I ask her what she is, and she tells me that she's an indigo being. Not an indigo child, an indigo being. And she tells me how there's like a planet full of them, okay? Which was alluding to that fact that there's a place where they all exist physically, and it's off-world, okay? It's off-world. It's not in our solar system, the Milky Way. It's not on Earth at all, and that's where they are right now, okay? Then she started telling me of a religion that they follow, some kind of indigo religion. And she gave me this book, but she didn't call it a religion. I called it a religion, and she got offended by that. To her, she was like, religion? What? This is just it. This is life. This is just how it is. We were born from the yolk. She called it the yolk, but nothing more. She didn't add anything more to that. She said we came out of this yolk, and I started getting visions in my head of like this purpley white ball that was inside this thing, you know, and I know I'm being vague here by thing, but really this was like watching a planet that was hollow, that had energy inside, that could give birth to beings. And so she said, we're just yoked, you know, we came out this yoke. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. So, but it's pretty cool too. And I kind of left her where she was, and I caught the eye of another indigo being who was inside the lounging area. You know, not the loft, but in the separate room. And she looked at me kind of annoyed, kind of envious and jealous that I was talking to this other indigo being. And I walked in there with the Bible in my hand, and you know, she looked at me and she said, what was you talking about? And I was like, oh, we were just talking about, you know, the origin of indigo beings. And we also had a conversation about sentient life, like robots. To her, having a robot that doesn't think for itself is very weird. She couldn't even comprehend that. So I'm thinking that on her planet, she was just born into a world where the robots were AI, artificial intelligence. They could think by themselves, you know? And so she couldn't wrap her head around robots that were just normal robots, which was weird. And then she told me yes, because she was born elsewhere, but I was born on Earth. She was a much older indigo being. During her time, she was called an indigo child, you know, or a star child. And she said that she was living on Earth for a while, and when she became older, they came and they took her. And now she's, you know, she's here. She's not here as in Earth, but she's here as in that place that I was at within the astral realm. And so at this point, I'm thinking, you know, is it even an astral realm? Because a lot of the time, astral beings like myself, we show up to physical locations and we look solid enough to actually interact with people. I've done that many times. And so we're at this kind of commune, and she's telling me how she was raised on Earth. And she was very much human because of that. Like, she was behaving very human. She had a lot of human mannerisms, whereas the other indigo beings, they were very alien. Like, they acted very different from her. And so that was pretty cool. And then after that experience with the Indigo Children, I left that astral plane. And then I woke up here. And I told my story, afterwards writing it down. It's funny because I didn't even have to use the notes. There's this method I used to use back in the day when I used to try and learn how to speak to people public. I had severe public anxiety. So I used to write down a bunch of sentences, you know, to use to speak to people. And I'd carry it around in a notepad, and I'd put that at the back of my pocket. But then when I actually instigated a conversation with a stranger, I would just know what to say. And it seems that that type of style of retaining information in order to express it to people has kind of stuck throughout my YouTube journey, because a lot of the time I don't refer back to the notes, which is cool. So I'm Ryan JC, Ryan James Cropper. This has been Your Potential. Subscribe for more videos like this. These videos, they're raw astral projection videos. So they're just done on my phone. It's very, you know, quick. I can shoot it up really fast. It's a way of me being able to put out extra content on to the social media platform YouTube. without me having to really think about it, because a lot of the time I've got content, I'm just not uploading it because I'm thinking about how I'm going to make it look a certain way, and that takes time. But this, I just pull out my phone, shoot, and upload onto a separate channel, Astral Projection Vlogs. Okay, I do have a main channel though with much more detailed content, much more enriched spiritual, psychological content called Ryan Cropper. You can check that out also. But I'll speak to you pretty soon. Peace.